Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a comedy drama film called A Different Man from 2024. Enjoy your viewing. The film begins on a movie set with Edward, a man with a disfiguring disease that causes his face to be disfigured. After the director's instructions and a conversation with a colleague, Edward takes the subway home, where he feels like everyone is staring at him. At home, he notices that a new tenant is moving into the apartment next door. The movers accidentally touch Edward's door while bringing in their belongings. In the kitchen, he notices something dripping from the ceiling and puts a bowl under it. He then prepares dinner while listening to a whistle training video. Edward is distracted by the doorbell. Out of surprise, he accidentally injures his hand. It is Ingrid, his new neighbor, who appears outside and wants to apologize for the damaged door. Noticing Edward's wound, she offers to help treat it and brings a first aid kit from her apartment. After bandaging his arm, she makes friendly conversation, which is unusual for a shy guy. The girl notices a red typewriter and tells him that she dreams of becoming a playwright. Edward visits the doctor he is seeing for his illness. At the end of the appointment, he tells him about a new experimental treatment that could theoretically get rid of the growths on his face. But since it involves certain risks, the doctor suggests that the patient think it over first. Upon returning home, Edward sees that the damaged door is painted bright red, and paint stains led to Ingrid's apartment. In the kitchen, the leakage from the ceiling gets worse, forcing the man to put more dishes down. Then he goes to his neighbor's house to congratulate her on her housewarming and give her a typewriter. Their conversation is interrupted by another guy who has come to visit her. Going down the stairs, Edward encounters the neighbor, who is repulsed by Edward's appearance. Edward goes to another audition, where there are many other applicants with no visible physical disabilities. The only role he's ever gotten in his acting career is a social advertisement designed to convince people to fight prejudice against people with different looks. Later, Edward meets Ingrid when she comes to visit. She touches his face, but the boy, who has never been touched by anyone but doctors, interprets this as a sign of sympathy. An awkward misunderstanding ensues, after which the neighbor hurries away, promising to bring a special face cream later. After this incident, Edward decides to enroll in an experimental treatment program. At the clinic, he is examined, tested, and measured for skin growths on his face before being prescribed medication. He is also treated for a knife cut. The nurse tries to hide her disgust at his appearance. In the park, Edward enviously notices a neighbor walking with a beautiful woman. As he passes by, the guy takes a closer look at the way Edward's skin is made up. The guy doesn't show that he is uncomfortable, but when Edward walks away, he looks after him. At home, he finds Ingrid's gifts by the door: fabric softener, candy, the promised cream, and a note printed on the typewriter he gave her. As he chews on the candy in front of the TV, he notices a piece of plaster and part of a wooden board falling off the ceiling. Edward goes to bed, but in the middle of the night he is woken up by a persistent knock on the door. The landlord and paramedics are at the door. It turns out that they have the wrong apartment and actually need to go to his neighbor's apartment, where a resident has passed away. Edward and the others watch them being filmed and notice the lonely cats. Later, he and the cat look out the window as the medics load the body into the car. Edward and Ingrid go to a cafe to eat pizza and discuss what happened to their neighbor. Suddenly, a random passerby knocks on the window and waves to Edward like an old friend. After saying hello in return, the man admits that this sometimes happens to him. Passers-by confuse him with someone else. When he returns home, he inspects the leak in the ceiling. While wiping the blood in front of the mirror, Edward notices that a piece of skin is simply torn off. He goes to the hospital, where the doctor explains that it is the result of an experimental treatment. As a souvenir, Edward is given a mask made from a mold of his face that exactly matches his face. He feels sick and goes to the restroom in a bar, then orders a drink. He is approached by one of the patrons who says he has seen him somewhere before. Edward is not in the mood to talk because he is sick. He returns home, where he lies in bed, sobbing, either in pain or in shame for the shame he has experienced. Rubbing his face with his hand, he notices that his skin is peeling and flaking off, and the man begins to tear it off. By morning, there is almost no trace of the former growths, and a completely different person is looking at him in the mirror. Edward watches Ingrid and her boyfriend through the door, has lunch, and has as much fun as he can while his recovery process continues. By the next evening, there is no trace of his former appearance. Dressed smartly and with a new face, he goes to a safe neighborhood where he is not in danger, and returns to the same bar where he once became ill. There, he orders a whiskey and joins the company celebrating the victory of his favorite team in a match. The pleasant evening ends in a bathroom stall, where a lady easily gives him pleasure. Returning home in the morning, Edward looks at himself in the mirror for a long time, and then falls into bed in his clothes, but he is not allowed to sleep. A repairman knocks on the door, who has come to patch a hole in the ceiling. Then one of the doctors who had been observing Edward's treatment comes through the open door. He wonders why he hasn't come to his appointments for a week. However, with his new appearance, Edward says that the person the doctor is looking for is already on the other side, and he introduces himself as Guy. Ingrid overhears their conversation. The plot moves forward for a while. Guy has moved into a new apartment and has become a successful real estate agent. His face appears on the advertising posters of the company where he works. One day, Guy notices Ingrid on the street and, succumbing to emotions, follows her. The girl arrives at a small theater on Broadway, where she is auditioning for her first play, Edward. Noticing Guy, Ingrid mistakes him for another actor and offers to read the text. In the process, the man realizes that the play is about a woman's friendship with a man with a physical disability. Ingrid wrote the script based on their friendship. Guy comes to the next audition wearing a mask that was left to him by his doctors as a souvenir. It is an exact copy of his former face before treatment. Impressed by his appearance and shyness, which exactly match the character's image, Ingrid casts Guy in the lead role, not realizing that she was modeling the character on him. Later, she and Guy go to a bar for a drink, and then end up at Ingrid's house. Guy notices the typewriter he gave her, but she confesses that she doesn't use it. She tries to seduce him, but Guy, as a shy, inexperienced boy, is embarrassed. Ingrid has to be persistent in order to have an interesting time with him. One day, during a regular rehearsal, Oswald, a man with neurofibromatosis who looks exactly like Edward did in the past, enters the theater. He was advised to come to the audition, but seeing that the role is already taken, Oswald politely says goodbye and leaves. Ingrid gives him a long look and then asks Guy to wear a mask while they are having fun. However, when she sees him in this guise, she starts laughing, and that's the end of it. When Guy and his colleagues are celebrating another successful deal at the bar, Oswald comes up to him to say hello. His colleagues are charmed by his friendliness, and despite his appearance, they offer to have a drink together. Guy is uncomfortable to see how easily Oswald gets along with people. During the next rehearsal, Guy quarrels with Ingrid about the character. When Oswald reappears, Ingrid invites him to watch the rehearsal, and then the whole group goes to a bar. Oswald charms the entire company, while Guy becomes increasingly depressed and looks like a pale shadow against his new friend. After a conversation with Oswald, Ingrid spends the night rewriting the script, making changes under the influence of his charisma. The next rehearsal takes place with makeup, but the makeup on Guy's face keeps falling off as he emotionally reads the text. On his way home, he meets Oswald in the park, who invites him for a drink in a friendly manner. Sitting in the bar, Guy learns that Oswald is unemployed and lives off his once successful investments. Guy is surprised that his new friend knows beautiful women despite his appearance. He himself is too shy and complex, while Oswald is not at all shy on stage and enjoys singing karaoke. Guy looks around at the visitors and is surprised that no one looks at Oswald with disgust. Everyone is busy doing their own thing, and they are laughing not at him, but at their own jokes. Soon, Ingrid makes the quite natural decision to give the lead role to Oswald, leaving Guy only for the final scene, a metaphorical transformation, when the heroine looks at Edward with loving eyes and sees him as beautiful. Guy agrees, because he has no choice in the matter. Soon the play premieres with Oswald in the title role. After the performance, Guy sits on the sidelines, resentful, while Ingrid and Oswald bask in the glory. The next day, he reads the newspaper reviews, which also praise his role. Then Ingrid informs him that his participation is no longer necessary. His part is cancelled. Guy listens to this with a stony expression on his face and a pain in his heart from the betrayal. Later, he spies Oswald, who has started a nice relationship with a girl who seems to understand the situation perfectly. Desperately upset, Guy returns to his old apartment and starts breaking the ceiling with a mop until a repairman shows up. He then sits on the floor all night wearing a mask of his former face, contemplating his fate. He never became happy with his new appearance, while Oswald, without any treatment, gets along well with people. Obviously, it's not about looks at all. Trying to understand his feelings, Guy comes to work wearing a mask, imitating his former illness. He shows the apartment to potential buyers, but his appearance and behavior frighten the little girl and alarm her parents. Guy is then fired in disgrace. Sinking deeper into depression, he comes to the theater and disrupts the performance by running on stage wearing a mask and starting a fight with Oswald. The security guards try to remove him, but the incident ends with a part of the set and then the lighting fixtures falling on Guy. In the next scene, he is in a hospital in a cast. He is placed in the house of Ingrid, who, together with her new boyfriend, takes care of him. They hire a special doctor for him, who, behind the employers' backs, speaks disparagingly of Oswald's appearance. This makes Guy furious, because he used to look like that himself. Seizing the moment, Guy attacks the doctor and then eliminates him forever. For the murder, Guy is sent to prison. There, he is still silent, gloomy, reading books and playing basketball. He just lives the life of an ordinary prisoner. Years pass, and when his sentence is up, he is released. Oswald spots him on the street and invites his old friend to a restaurant to celebrate his release. At the restaurant, Guy learns that Oswald and Ingrid are still together, engaged in creative work, and plan to move to Canada, where they will join a sect that practices free love and the use of forbidden things. Guy listens to them in silence. When it comes time to order, he can't make up his mind. Oswald, smiling, says that his old friend hasn't changed at all. Guy looks at the camera and smiles too. He himself realizes that he has remained the same weak-willed man he has always been, and his appearance has nothing to do with it.
If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klonsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.